6 this morning. Apparently, I requested the appointment to be rescheduled.
Interesting.
But yet I have another one coming today that I did not reschedule. Interesting.
But why would you at 4 in the morning be on Amazon rescheduling something that
Well, I
you're
wasn't.
expecting to have that day?
I know. And I'm asleep, and then I put in another...
Or maybe you were asleep. Maybe you were buying
No, I
stuff in
wasn't.
your sleep.
But I ordered other stuff, thinking, oh, I'll get, like, next day delivery on this. Thursday for Prime. That's how long it's taken,
Well, you
5
see,
days.
Obviously now, because Northern Ireland is a third world country thanks to Brexit.
Thanks to Arlene and Michelle.
We're going to be shafted from every direction, which sometimes you enjoy, but not when you're buying things from Amazon.
No.
That is so good.
That is actually very true.
I know.
I do give myself a thorough clean.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
That's for another video. So, Mark,
a demonstration.
we are back finally with another movie review.
Yeah.
Because we've been very focused on WandaVision recently, haven't we?
It's been consuming
We
our
haven't-
thoughts and our lives.
we haven't really gotten into much movies.
Nope.
For our movie review episode.
Well, yeah, we've been watching movies, but we haven't really
we need
agreed
to-
on some that we need to
get
review
into
together.
something. Yes. Okay, but we have just...
We will.
I've watched for my third time and you've watched for your first time Jackie Chan's latest movie, Vanguard. From Stanley Tong. So, I mean, let's just throw out there an immediate thought on it before we get into dissecting it. What would you think?
If I had to give an immediate thought,
Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it?
I enjoyed it.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, especially after the third time. And I find the more I'm watching it, I'm enjoying it even more.
Yeah.
Okay, look, we'll get it. Let's start with the negatives, because I do enjoy this movie so much, and I think that a lot of people have went in thinking it would be something else and have really given it some major negative reviews, both fans and critics alike. I'm not saying it for what it really is, to be honest, but
Yeah.
if we clear the negatives first, we can get excited about it.
Okay.
Because I kind of do get excited about it now. 3 times in 1 week is a lot. When you read what people have put up about this,
It's not unwatchable like some people
Totally
have
not.
said.
totally not.
Because you read out some of the things, and out of 10 people are giving it 1 and 3. I wouldn't go that low.
No. Out of 10, that was
Out of 10.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go that low. But,
definitely not.
and it's certainly not unwatchable.
Nope.
I recently sat through a couple of films starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal that were unwatchable. Like, to the point where I turned them off 45 minutes in, even after George is texting me saying, no, it gets better. I'm like, fuck, it can't get better than this. It really can't. It's got nowhere to go, but not really.
No.
So, I mean, it was quite enjoyable.
Yes, but negative side.
Oh, sorry,
negative
negatives,
side.
yes.
Let's go
Okay.
negative. Negative,
You talk
obviously,
about your
I think.
negatives.
Well, I think the major negative for anyone who is watching Vanguard is the CGI.
Huge distraction and
Huge
really
distraction.
unnecessary.
But it's not in every scene. Now,
No,
when
it's
it
not,
does come about, it takes you out of it because it's so noticeable. And Stanley Tong, for some reason, like Jeff Lau in his recent movies, seems to be just okay with okay CGI. And
It's
I don't
not
know,
even okay CGI.
No, it's-
This reminds me of like 90s CGI.
from Hollywood. Like
Yeah, like
90s
Mortal
Hollywood.
Kombat.
Yeah.
You know, like that kind of...
Like it's noticeable that
Yeah.
there's something just not there on the screen.
Yeah.
Now, the odd thing is we watched some of the making of featurettes, and at the end of the movie there's an incredible...
Which were about 30 seconds long each.
Yeah, there wasn't much, but at the end of the movie you got a full-length credit roll of the making of what went on there, and it gives you a bit more respect for the film.
Yeah.
But it also disappoints because you see what was real, and a lot of what let
What
us
was
down in the
fake,
CGI department, they actually were doing it. There was a
Yeah.
lot that they were giving us. That
There was a lot
real.
that they said that they couldn't do because for certain reasons,
Yes.
like with the gold cars.
Yes, but regardless, Vanguard is about a national security agency run by Jackie Chan who have very high class.
Based in London.
Based in London, which is odd, but hey, one thing I have to say about Vanguard is this is a massive globe-trotting adventure movie in that old 90s kind of Jackie Chan way.
Yeah.
Which was great.
And in the old 90s Bond kind of way.
Yes, exactly. And this is what, for me, Vanguard is. It's a throwback to the 80s and 90s movies that gave us that exciting, silly plot nonsense where it went around the world for a shortcut.
Yeah.
That's what that is. That's what Vanguard is. But yeah, so one of their high-class clients gets kidnapped. Taken hostage by a terrorist group who have a grudge, and it's up to Jackie and his team to get out there and rescue him, and things then go from bad to worse with members of the team getting captured and more rescue missions. So
it's taken with bright colours.
It's beautifully coloured. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, it is one of the most colourful movies I've seen, and I think this is what has thrown a lot of people off from the start. When you see the trailer for Vanguard and the addition in the trailer of the return of the fucking lion and the hyenas from Kung Fu Yoga, which put a lot of people off because of the bad CGI, which continues. They are only brief moments.
Very brief.
The lion, the hyenas are only brief, and they could have been cut from this completely and not upset the cart at all. But Stanley Tong maybe had some leftover footage, I don't know.
Or maybe just, well, we've seen in the B-roll at the end that he has kind of an affinity for animals. He's like,
he loves wild animals.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. There's a gorgeous collection of shots at the end of the credit roll where you see him feeding the tigers and cuddling them, and it was lovely to see. Both him and Jackie runs his own wildlife charity and everything. He has done for years.
Is he a vegan?
I would say no, but some people need to eat meat, Mark. He doesn't eat tigers, but he eats, I'm sure he eats the old cow. But yes, there's these are moments throughout that could be snipped. They do offer a little laugh and a little bit of humour, but it's not as much as what Kung Fu Yoga had in it.
Yes, Kung Fu Yoga was a comedy.
This is it. Vanguard has kind of been shown throughout the trailer, and we picked it up as almost a follow-up to Kung Fu Yoga. The same style of movie, the same comedy elements, and there is a couple of chuckles throughout it, but this is a serious action movie. For the most part, there's some violence throughout this.
Yeah, there's some violence. I wouldn't say it's a serious.
It's not. No. I don't mean like this is a heavy.
But it's like
It's not The Foreigner, so it's not.
No.
And it is not Kung Fu Yoga. It kind of falls in between, and yes, we get a couple of areas where Jackie gets to be Jackie, but at the same time, he steps back from that clown. A kind of role that he's obviously expected to be, and does give a bit more of a serious performance.
Yeah.
So he does. So yes, the CGI is definitely
Rush Hour meets Extraction.
Yeah, pretty much. It has that feel to it. But full on Hong Kong action.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. That the one thing that does not feel is the Hong Kong action.
Yeah.
Yes, CGI is a big negative. The other
CGI is a huge
negative, which I don't like to bring up a lot, and I do ignore often, is the kind of the political agenda of it. Because this is a very mainland China funded movie, there's the whole kind of the highlight of how great China is, and I'm for that, because America do it in all of their action movies and all the army movies you see. When the American Marines are out doing their thing, it's all hoo-ha, this and that. They are always shouting about how great they are. Why can it not be from China? Why can it not be from another country if they want to do it in their movies?
Yeah.
For some reason, this kind of just comes across as a wee bit too cheesy in Vanguard. Here and there, It's just small wee bits. But it's like...
the Mr. China?
Yeah,
Captain China.
Captain China and all this kind of, and how great we are.
Because Captain China is better than Captain America.
This is what I mean. There's a couple of wee digs in and out, and they could have just not been.
Yeah.
It doesn't worry me or offend me or anything like that. Of course it doesn't. But what I'm saying is, these are little moments that I know the critics and the fans are crying about and gurning about. And had they been snipped, they would have tightened that running time, because it is quite a lengthy movie. But they would have tightened.
Wasn't bad.
No, it still flew by.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is packed But just there's wee moments there that you could have just snipped and let that flow even stronger.
And other areas that they could have expanded on.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They kind of filled it with something that doesn't need to be, just to say something. But and then my third kind of negative or gripe about it is that while the whole film is practically an action movie in itself, Stanley Tong once again forgoes the whole massive end martial arts battle for stunt work and action, as he has done in all his movies, like since he's gotten his hands on Jackie Chan. He's kind of cut the end. You know that long-awaited end battle that you want, you know, and especially when you have a great bad guy as Brahim Chab there, who's worked on movies like Big Brother with Donnie Yen. He did some work in The Foreigner with Jackie Chan. He worked in Pound of Flesh with Van Damme, and many others. But when you have someone who has that ability to become a great kind of challenger for Jackie Chan or the other stars of Chan's team, you think there would be a much more full-on fight scene at the end. And it was brief, but it opted for more the car chase and the stunt work.
Yeah.
So it did. And that's Stanley Tong. I mean, you think back to First Strike, there's no end fight scene really. You think to Rumble in the Bronx, it's the hovercraft and the Lamborghini with the blade out the side. You know, seems to be a thing with Stanley that he doesn't want Jackie to have this end fight.
American. It's like a big...
It's a very American.
Where they blow everything up.
This is where Stanley, and I've said this forever, Stanley is the Hollywood director of Hong Kong, of China. He has always kind of turned his movies to the Hollywood side of things, wanting to be the bigger budgeted, the bigger CGI, the bigger action as opposed to a martial arts movie, which is very odd because the guy can deliver. But the guy can deliver action and martial arts. We've seen it. We've seen it with the Angel series, the Iron Angel series. The martial arts is strong.
Behind that.
He's behind it, yes. Yeah. You were there in the commentary when I told you.
Was I?
Yeah. But
I
also,
think I was just so busy looking at Minley's amazing moves.
China Strike Force, he delivers some amazing martial arts there with...
But he's just, I think, here's... I don't know. For me... I think that the problem might be that martial arts films just don't get people excited the same way. Let me finish.
Well...
I think that it is a very 80s and 90s thing because it was so, like, in the 70s, 80s and 90s, it was new, it was fresh. They had the Shaw Brothers movies and everyone was like, oh my god, wow, we've never seen fights like that before. Then you had Jackie coming along, Samuel coming along, Andy coming along, Jet coming along, then Jean-Claude, then Steven Seagal.
Then you had a reprisal when Crouching Tiger hit and the Matrix hit,
but that was
Kill Bill hit. You know, that was
all
like
that wire food type stuff. So they advanced it on further. So I think that whenever
and now everyone
Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal and Dolph Lundgren, whenever their careers at the end of the 90s started to fade away to direct-to-video, then Crouching Tiger came out and it was wire food. It was all much more balletic, it was more stylistic, everything.
Well, the Chinese epic took over.
Yes, and then that kind of martial arts style film kind of has fallen away in popularity.
Well, but then Hollywood adapted it, the Hong Kong style. If you look at every Marvel movie, everyone does that Hong Kong style of martial arts. All the heroes fight that way. You look at any Black Widow or Captain America fight scene, they're all doing... Yeah,
but they're adapting it in a way
that's Hollywoodized to a modern audience. But for me, and the fact that Jackie Chan's, you know, mid to late 60s now and still offering the same sort of style of martial arts action for his fans.
Excuse me.
He's doing it. And, you know, there's still an audience there for it, is what I'm saying.
There's still an audience for martial arts films. I think, I can only speak for myself, but I think that while some martial arts films are very good and very well done, and they don't have guns or explosions, whatever, and it's all fighting, they could be very, very exciting. But sometimes I think I watch some martial arts films and I'm like, meh, you know, where it's just fighting.
Yeah. Well, you see...
And it's kind of like, you know, it's like anything. It's like with romantic comedies. It's like with
yeah,
you know you get into a flow and then it kind of all dies away because it's like, oh, it's the same shit, and then you get a resurgence like in the 90s with Julia Roberts, and then Sandra Bullock tries to come in and do it, and Reese Witherspoon, and then it kind of falls away again. It's
of course
not,
it does.
you know.
But that's the thing that I find. I mean, I've been watching these now from I was 5 years old, so there's almost 40 years, and I have yet to tire of it. Yet to get bored of watching these. I mean, I just keep adding to the collection.
Yeah.
There's still thousands I have not seen that I want to see. I'll never see them. So I'm not the only one, is what I'm saying.
No,
there's clearly people out there who
is,
have the same love, and
Idiots
new audiences that are
and companies like that would not be releasing these films if there wasn't
and
an
they're
audience for
bringing
them.
that new love back.
But I would quicker go for Protector, Crime Story, Police Story than I would for Shaolin Wooden Men, for those kind of things. So that's kind of getting into the Vanguard thing.
There's a love for every different style of action movie.
And I think that's maybe where Vanguard is trying to do both. So it had a lot of pretty badass fight scenes, like hand-to-hand combat scenes. They looked really, really fluid and stylish, but it did have that kind of big, you know, blockbuster moments. Those Michael Bay moments.
Exactly. Do you know what? That's right. This was a Michael Bay Jackie Chan movie.
Yeah.
Because Michael Bay movies are exciting and fun sometimes to watch, but pretty shit at the same time.
they have
because it's
really
the
bad
direction.
stories. And,
And this, you know, Vanguard does have a silly story. Not a bad story, but a silly story.
Silly story and really bad dialogue. But.
And some... I said to you before we came on camera, Stanley Tong for me is a great action director, but as a director he just never nails it.
Yeah.
And with this being his latest movie and should be his best movie, technically, he still does some stupid things and you know, like those fade outs. There's another great...
Oh, those fade... Oh, God.
Like TV fade outs.
I said to you it was like a TV pilot.
Yeah.
From the 90s?
Yes!
Maybe
Makes
it was intentional.
sense. But this is something that
maybe
for me is a massive...
set us up for the Vanguard TV series.
Well, do you know, I'm going to be honest right now before we jump ahead into the positives. I want to see more. I think they're a great team.
I think it's a potential franchise starter.
I would like to see a sequel or two, definitely.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay, let's go. Spoilers.
I didn't give my negatives.
Boom. Oh, I thought you were joining in the same negatives because
the only other negative I have is screenplay.
Yes, of course.
It was...
That's what I mean.
Ugh. It was so bad.
Okay, so there's another thing. Stanley Tong wrote it.
Well, there we go.
And kind of a newcomer brought in the English dialogue. Chinese girl brought in the English dialogue. But yes.
I felt that the English dialogue wasn't
terrible in a sense that it... there's a lot of, especially Jackie Chan movies, when he brings in Westerners and he brings in some English, there is a cheesiness to it, and he's never ever had an eye for picking the best Westerners. Yeah. As bad guys especially, but this works.
Oh, it does work, but the thing is that with the screenplay there were things that Stanley Tong started to explore and then dropped, and then explored something else and then dropped, and then explored something else and then dropped, and I was like, I'm not really feeling compelled enough about these characters. So the thing about Vanguard that I liked was the action. See if it had just been, we've got to rescue this girl because she's been kidnapped, and not be the movie like Extraction was with Chris Hemsworth. No exposition, just you got to go in and get this person out and get the fuck out. But that was
a real 80s type of movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely, you know, right. So that's what I would have preferred. But whenever he's bringing in with the daughter, and
that was
okay. Who's the younger brother?
Yang.
So the love story between him and the guy's daughter.
Oh my god.
So they kind of started this in Africa, and then it kind of faded away.
It kind of
The relationship between her and her dad. No, the relationship between her and her dad and her stepmother was hinted at, and then never developed.
Yeah.
And it was all these little things. We don't know much about Maya, you know, in that context of Vanguard. Jackie says, I taught her. There's nothing to say that they have a bond in any way, you know, throughout the film. That was an issue for me. because it brought in those moments of exposition
That you want to know.
that I was like, right, well, I kind of want to know now.
Yeah.
He taught her. He's obviously a mentor. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then just nothing. I would have just preferred they left it out and just brought in some badass bitches and shot the place down.
Well, they kind of did.
They did bring the place down.
Yes, I mean, look, Stanley Tong, again, screenwriter and director, he's still mid-level for me. But as an action director and as someone who, as we've seen in the making of even of this and others that I've watched, he cares for the cast and crew. He cares for the action. You know, he gets involved. There's not many directors of his age today. You know, him and Jackie are similar age, same birthdays and so on, that gets nitty and gritty into the stunt work to make sure it's okay before he gets his cast to do it. I do have a lot of respect for him in that sense, but I just wish he would kind of let, you know, if Jackie had been the director of this, I think it would have been a stronger project.
Yeah, possibly.
You know, I do think Jackie he's totally proven himself with Miracles, Operation Condor, Police Story. You know, without a doubt, he has proven to be an incredible director.
Miracles was a very mature project for him.
Yeah, and he did that to prove that.
Yeah.
Because people said he's just a martial arts star. He's not a he's
not
a
an
filmmaker.
actor.
He's not an actor or a filmmaker or a director. He fucking knocked it out of the park.
He did.
I love it. But yes, I think if Jackie had been behind Vanguard, it would have been a different movie altogether. And some of those moments that
why does Jackie not take over his career?
Look, behind the scenes, yes, he does, but he's always talked about Stanley being one of his favourite directors, and I think
just because they get on so well.
They get on so well. They have a lot in common, clearly, and they've worked together for years. But I do think and believe that Stanley was the start of Jackie's, I don't want to say downfall, but his decline as the Jackie Chan we all fell in love with, and then that became a new era of Jackie Chan. And I know that I've been told that Jackie has stated...
Well, that new era came in the 90s.
Jackie has stated that Jackie Chan is dead and gone. So this new era...
Why did you pause there?
I paused because I thought the camera knocked off.
Oh, sorry. I was like, did he actually just pause because I interrupted him? Rude. Sorry.
So I just, yes, he has stated that Jackie Chan is gone. Which is understandable. The guy...
He's not gone, he's still there. He's just not capable of that.
He has become a different action star.
Yeah.
So when you look at the eras of Jackie Chan and the changes of Jackie Chan, you have the 70s Kung Fu Jackie, you have the 80s to mid-90s Ultimate Jackie.
Yeah.
Where he's nearly died umpteen times, broken every bone in his body, and you know, why do we keep expecting him to give us that same Jackie Chan, especially at 66 years of age? We shouldn't.
No.
That's kind of disrespectful in a sense, you know? It's like, you still aren't giving us Dragons Forever, you're terrible.
Well, so there could be a flip side to that argument.
There could.
Because then people could say, oh, Rambo Last Blood. Rambo didn't give us any Rambo. And he fucking did.
He did. Do
you know what I mean?
But then again...
But he's not having to move in the same way that Jackie is known to move.
Yes, that's a different level of action. And yes, I mean, for me, Jackie is the greatest action star. Without a doubt. He's my ultimate hero. But I think people... The curse of film is people are trapped in time. People are trapped in time, which is a curse of film. You can look back at Operation Condor or whatever and see this ultimate Jackie, and then go to Vanguard and think, oh, that was a bit disappointing. But it's not. It's because he's a pensioner. Really.
But even Chow Yun-fat doesn't do
He doesn't do what he does. No, exactly, because he's wised up.
Yeah. The only person that seems to actually be getting better at action is Liam Neeson.
Which is very...
He started being an action star in his fucking 50s.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he's just getting more and more and more.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. People have this expectation.
They do have expectations.
And they don't think of the reality of what is behind. I feel like I'm having a leave Britney alone moment.
Oh my God, please.
Right? But that's
George. George, please go and do it.
Shut up a minute. So that's what I mean. People are expecting unrealistic levels of Jackie Chan at this stage. What are you laughing? Fucking, what a twat.
Leave Brittany, leave Jackie alone.
That's exactly what it's like.
Why are you shooting yourself, huh?
Yeah, you were having a wee bit of it.
I was because people aren't understanding it. This is what I'm trying to say.
I don't understand how people can't understand it. That's the thing, and God, it just makes me very. I'm at the moment very aware of how the kind of social contagion of social media is kind of overtaking, and how a lot of young people are coming into this world that part of us have been a part of from a time pre-social, pre-internet, when we had to go out and buy Empire and Total Film,
Impact
and
Movie Magazine.
Impact Movie Magazine, all of those, things to get our information. We didn't have, we were buying, there's a point to this, by the way, getting encyclopedias and things in the post, and whatever, and it was all very specialized. So when you went into Eason's, you had to go to a specialized section, or buy it from a specialized bookstore, right? Yeah. So I feel like a lot of these young people are coming in now that have too big of a mouth on them, and have only been watching films for a very short period of time, and they're like, I think that they then think, if I don't like Shawshank Redemption, I'm not a real movie fan.
I understand where you're going.
So,
yes, okay, yeah.
Do you understand where I'm going, with the direction I'm going here? So with the likes of Vanguard, they're going to tear apart, because they have spent the last maybe 4 years watching Shawshank, Godfather, whereas we grew up watching all of those films, plus Nightmare on Elm Street, plus Kickboxer, plus Back to the Future,
Armor of God, there's so many.
Men of War, even with Dolph Lundgren, and it's
right back to the
Silent Trigger, Split Second, Hammer Horror. So we were growing up in a time when everything was so different. Even though the action films were similar, everything was so different, and we were getting so many different things. Right now, what we're getting is an overabundance of similarity within this kind of social context.
Of course they are. Yeah.
So people are going online and they're brandishing a film as shite when it's not.
No.
Because they're like, that doesn't have like Disney level effects on it. That doesn't have,
Look, I get that with my movies.
You get that with your movies.
And people don't understand that I'm working on a £500 budget.
Yeah.
But Marvel are working on a $500 million budget.
I mean, people will. I've had people message me, and they've asked, who you are, like on Insta, and they're like, who's George, and he's a filmmaker. You can catch his films on Amazon Prime, and they're almost scared to say to me, that. What movies of George do you like? And I'm like, well, I like this one, this, and this one, but I don't like this one and this one. And I've told you that.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, oh, thank God you said it, because I didn't like that one either. And I'm like, yeah, but that's totally fine. You don't have to. We're coming for you. I'm like, you don't have to like it, but what you need to appreciate is what George is working with, what all these people are working with.
Yep.
And I think that's this kind of over-stylized and over-produced, and even though I defended Mandalorian and I'm defending WandaVision because of their production values, which are incredible.
Of course they are. Yeah.
We are being conditioned to this kind of really over-produced level of film.
Yeah, it's a new Hollywood.
Yeah, and whenever something like Vanguard comes out where the effects do let it down, the script does let it down, but it still has a lot of positives.
It's still working on a fifth of the budget that most MCU movies are.
WandaVision has a $225 million budget.
Okay, so
and
that
we're
is
seeing
4 times as much as what Vanguard cost for the whole film.
Yeah.
And that was per episode.
No, $225 million is for the whole season.
For the whole season.
Yeah.
Okay, regardless.
Fuck,
George.
No,
I thought you were like, okay.
$225 million just to film a 50s sitcom?
Olsen might have a big paycheck. But yes, that still is 4 times as much as what Vanguard cost by budget.
Yeah.
And it doesn't yet show where the money is, in a sense that, what Vanguard offers in its first 20 minutes, you would imagine would cost what its budget was.
Yes.
But it keeps getting bigger.
And I think what became so frustrating is when we see that B-roll and the behind the scenes, we seen that so much of the stunt work was done legit.
Yeah.
But they just, if they didn't need solid gold cars for the car chase,
No,
right?
it's Stanley wanting to impress and
right.
make it look, yes.
But he then could have had cars that looked like solid gold cars and wrecked them, drove them through traffic, had them blowing up, he couldn't do that with it, so he had to think of a way, how can I bring in those moments when we can crash into other cars?
I'm just going to throw it out. I don't know the facts, but I think after shooting Kung Fu Yoga, Stanley and Jackie have made some connections in the countries they shot Kung Fu Yoga in, because they returned to every similar country for all of Vanguard.
Yeah.
So I think they've made those friends and those connections who have said, we will loan you 5 gold cars, because they got a loan of 5 gold cars which cost 120 million each. They're clearly not going to
damage them. I don't think they paid that 120 million, because their budget was only 55 million, so they were loaned these cars that were, this is how much they would cost.
Yeah, and even the actors said you couldn't look directly at them. It was so
blinding. And the girl that plays Mia said that, like, she was like, I would be bankrupt, like, you couldn't scratch it. Like, there's a moment in the film where she's on the motorcycle and she's travelling along on the motorcycle, stands up, she has to hit the back of the car and then flip onto it. Now, she does it, but she was like, if I hit that car, like, that's me.
She gets no paycheck.
No.
Basically.
It's the whole top of my head disappeared.
Yeah.
Should be bankrupt. So I get it, but I also think that cinema is such a wonderful thing that you don't need to impress and you don't need to show off the way Stanley was with those cars. They looked amazing. He could have used the gold cars, the real gold cars, for a setup.
I think Stanley's caught in a, like me with my love for 80s horror, which is why I make my movies grindhouse style, like 80s horror movies.
Check out Splash Area.
I haven't got into my 90s Hong Kong style of movie making yet. Not yet. But I think Stanley is caught in that 80s to early 90s Hollywood action movie where he became the bigger director, and that's when he took over Jackie's movies and started bringing a more Hollywood quality to them.
I have to say, I love that though, because I'm such a huge fan of 80s and 90s action films from Hollywood.
You love,
I do, like, absolutely. I have a countless many, and in all various genres, or sub-genres of the action franchise. And I really, really do. So I appreciate someone that's just like throws out an action film that's full of action. That's what I want. I don't want to go into an action film and be like,
well, Vanguard is...
where's the action?
Yeah, Vanguard is an action movie.
Yeah.
It's not a martial arts movie.
No, I don't want an hour of people chit-chatting and then 20 minutes of guns shooting and one canister thing exploding.
Well,
I want my films John Woo style fucking explosions, gunfire.
Which you get with this. You get pretty much 10 to 15 minutes of dialogue and the rest is full on action.
Yeah. It's like what John Woo did with Blackjack.
Oh yeah, with Dolph Lundgren. Yeah.
$30 million. That cost only $30 million. And look at it. Looks like a fucking Hollywood film. Unbelievable. It was a TV movie.
It was a TV movie, that's right. Yeah, remember that.
Unbelievable. Sorry,
but
just had to bring that up.
No, but that's the thing. There is directors that can manage that. And Stanley Tong has certainly put every penny to use.
Yes.
Undoubtedly. But I think his ambitions were so high with this that's where he overstepped the mark.
Absolutely. It's too ambitious for the budget.
Very much so.
If he had had the budget and then another 55 million, could have been.
Or if a CGI artist had have actually just kind of went, look, I see what you're trying to do here. let's make it work.
If they had
that would have been nice.
If Stanley hadn't just done it all on his computer and hired someone to do it.
But that's what it is.
It looks half completed. That's what it makes me think.
And do you know whenever you would have learned from Kung Fu Yoga with the critics' remarks on the CGI and the car chasing scenes in Kung Fu Yoga, you would have think he would have got that.
Yeah.
But no.
He didn't. But the pluses, we seem to spend a lot of time on the negative.
But it's important because, again, I think Vanguard is a movie that needs to be seen with different eyes. And
discussed in various Yeah, wise.
Very, very much so. So yes, a lot of positives.
There was a lot of lovely.
I've watched it 3 times in 1 week. I have not got bored of it yet. And I think it is a huge, huge action movie that sort of plays a lot of nods to Jackie's past movies. There's a lot of scenes I picked up as a huge fan of Jackie's past movies, and I think they had a bit of a giggle putting it in.
Yeah.
I mean, everything from Project A2 to First Strike, you know,
Police Story,
every other movie there is hints of it throughout.
Operation Condor.
Yeah, so much of it.
Yeah.
So, what were your positives about it? Because I could obviously get lost in it.
Okay, so my positives are going to be very quick. Not that there wasn't a lot of them, but the first one was lots of yummy Asian and Middle Eastern men.
My God.
I mean, it was like a bum buffet.
You're telling me.
Wasn't it though?
Yang Yang is so good. And what's the other guy? Zhu Zhengtang.
Zhu Zhengtang?
He's very much like almost like a K-pop idol.
Yeah.
Chinese, obviously, but
gorgeous.
Bloody hell.
I mean,
yeah.
Whew, so that was my first positive. So the whole way through the movie, as I'm trying to read the subtitles and concentrate on the action, I'm going to George.
Look at his bum.
Fuck me! Look at that ass. So that was my that was my first real positive. I do love a good Asian film with a lot of attractive Asian actors.
It was, and that in itself was a bit of a Hollywood moment, providing a more glossier cast.
Yes.
Wasn't it?
I mean, even the women were stunning.
Oh, yeah.
The second positive, which is a big one for me, because you know how I feel about this, is Maya Mukui.
Yes, she is. Okay, she's kind of new on the scene.
Yeah.
She did appear in Kung Fu Yoga, which is why I'm sure Stanley Tong has brought her back and Jackie's brought her back. And hasn't done a lot of movies as such. She did star in Warriors of the Nation, the kind of the Once Upon a Time in China reprisal with Vincent Xiao. But she is also China's most respected yoga instructor or most famous
and a
yoga
taekwondo expert.
And a taekwondo expert.
I mean, the girl can move.
She was a scene stealer for me.
Badass. She did some incredible stunts herself. Some with the assistance of Bart, but she still did them.
I would like
and
to see her as the next big action star.
Yes, please. Just please do. Whose dick do I need to suck in Hong Kong for them to make another female action film?
Quite a few, I'd imagine. But
well, I'll do it. I'll take one for the team, and I'll do it because I would love her.
Definitely had.
She has a movie star look.
Late 80s to mid 90s kind of Moon Lee appearance, so, and Lin Loy kind of feel about her.
For me, what she had was she had that kind of Moon Lee kind of balletic kind of movement. She's very flexible,
yes,
you know,
but also
but
that toughness to her. Yeah.
And that fan bing bing glamour.
Yes, yeah. She did.
So where Fan Bingbing would be the actress.
Yep.
You know, she has that.
I wouldn't see her getting as gritty as what this girl did. You know.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. She has the look of like a Fan Bingbing style, really glamorous, gorgeous girl.
She gets it.
But she was. She was jumping from boat to boat. She was on a motorcycle. She was doing flips. She was hand-to-hand combat.
Even with her guns and everything.
She was incredible. Yeah, she just literally took over the screen. Every time she came on the screen, her beauty radiated through.
She was a scene
and she just sucked you in, and it was really, really good.
Yeah.
And I really liked her, and it was so nice to see. You know, a fresh new female face on the action scene in Hong Kong.
I really do want to see more of her
because I mean, Gigi Yannon and Yu Chan and stuff have come along, and they haven't kind of Whereas now it's time to just go.
She's definitely proven herself.
Oh, the girl can move, no doubt. The girl can fire a gun, no doubt, and she's quite funny in this as well.
She is quite, yeah.
You know, I love the moment she's like, "But you always said it was one of the guys." She doesn't talk like this, by the way. She's like, "Shit, that." Yeah, she's like this here. "You always said it was one of the guys." And she has some great little character moments, and it was really, really nice. It was nice to see Jackie doing stunts. That was another positive for me. Yeah.
And even another one that nearly killed him.
Nearly killed him on the jet ski.
I mean, for me, that
Could have nearly killed.
do you know what? Those moments for me, even watching it in the end credits, the bloopers and whatnot, that's emotional for me. Because again, when this guy dies, I will be closing my doors and windows for a month and grieving because he is my ultimate hero. But to see that him trapped under a jet ski for that length of time and to hear him talk about, you can see the fear in him. He's only human.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he's not a machine.
no, he's not a machine. And again, this is what people keep forgetting. And he is putting his life at risk.
Yeah.
You know, and Jesus.
For the benefit of our entertainment.
Of course, he always has.
And you got to respect someone for that at the age of 66, as he did, you
Yeah,
say?
yeah.
The age of 66 for him to still be able to do a lot of those stunts, to still be able to get onto a jet ski.
Just crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
And he's still doing some pretty cool moves.
Yeah.
Not as kind of fanciful as
He
the
did
fairy,
what
but
I did enjoy about him in this and have respected that he has stepped back to let this younger cast step forward. And he jokes about that, like the scene where the gorgeous Shang Yang jumps off the balcony in the mall onto the car and down, and he's about to do it, and the security guy says, "Oh no, there's stairs," and he's like, "Oh, good."
And it's even when Maya is doing something and he's like,
"Yes,
I trained her.
I told her." Yeah. It's like
I trained her.
those are nice moments.
Yeah.
And you know, yes, I think.
For me, I think probably where Jackie maybe needs to go next in his career. I mean, he's still obviously a big movie star. But I think behind the camera, Jack.
Well, he has proven time and time again
that he can do it.
He, you know, I think his last one was Chinese Zodiac as a director.
Yeah. Oh.
But as a what did
I didn't know.
Oh
no,
my
which
God.
one was one I didn't like? Which one was Bleeding State? Last
Oh,
one I
Bleeding
didn't like.
State.
Oh,
Yeah. No,
Chinese Zodiac I liked.
Chinese Zodiac
Bleeding
was awesome.
State
I was going to say, I was actually going to get into a fight there. But he is. But he is very very, very highly skilled behind the camera.
Yes.
He has proven time and time again.
And he's a highly skilled choreographer.
Yes, of course.
So it would be quite nice for Jackie to kind of
Do you know what I like
maybe
to
get
see him
away.
though?
Where?
Drunken Master 3, he is the Drunken Master teaching a new student.
Yeah.
As that age
Do you know
comes
what?
in,
Maybe that's kind of would be his last blood.
Yeah.
And then kind of say, right, let's get behind the camera. And for the likes of Yang
like
Yang
Clint
and
Eastwood,
Mia.
you mean,
and
like Clint Eastwood has done.
Yes.
He's went
Yeah,
behind
yeah,
the
yeah,
camera
yeah, yeah.
more so.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Okay.
given the likes of Mia and Yang Yang to almost be like they have to be like his proteges.
Yeah.
And to give them big films
Well,
and
there
push
is
them
a
forward
a few new stars that have been coming onto the Hong Kong scene. Jackie did a kind of reality show a lot of years back where he was searching for the new action star, and he found a couple, and that's who he has been bringing those people into his movies. So we will gradually see that.
I hope so.
And then obviously there's been 4 generations of Jackie Chan's stunt team, and they have went on to be their own stars and action choreographers in their own right. So there is more behind the scenes than we know.
Yeah.
But what Jackie is bringing us.
Yeah.
Ultimately, yes, it comes down to Vanguard, and he doesn't disappoint. He's no reason to disappoint. He doesn't try to do anything he can't, which again I find is pretty funny. But he still gives us some incredible action moments.
Yeah, he
Definitely,
does.
without a doubt.
It was a very well cast film.
Yeah,
That
I
was
think
another
so.
positive. Even the bad guys.
Yeah, the bad guys
Well,
were quite impressive, and it's massive.
Sorry.
It's massive on scale.
Yeah.
Like, the cast is huge.
Yeah, it's a
This
very
isn't
large
just
cast.
a couple of people hanging about. This is massive. Globally, it goes from the UK to Zambia,
Dubai,
Mumbai. You know, it just keeps traveling, and that threw it back to those Operation
London.
Condor days where it was like, you know, they would travel around the world, or Armour of God, and all these moments where Jackie would just suddenly end up in another country, chasing someone or finding something.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like. But yeah, any other positives about it, or you just really that's.
Those were my positives.
They are positive, and that's what it's all about. It was the action movie, and that was your main positive is the action and the stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my positives on top of all that would have to be those little nods to Jackie's past movies. You know, we have
yeah.
the fight scene in the kitchens in London where
Eileen, yeah.
the older of the
Yes,
brothers,
yeah,
what they
yeah,
call
yeah.
it, he gets the chili peppers and he rubs them in his hands and he's fighting with the guys, rubbing them in his face. And in Project A2, Jackie does something similar. He chews on the red peppers. So he goes a step ahead, of course, and then spits them into his hands and he's fighting with people and rubbing them in. That was nice.
Well,
Yeah. We had, and
Yeah.
there was wee moments like that of Jackie throughout.
Yes, he
And
did do that. When he
I
grabbed the
think
gun.
the gun was hilarious.
Yeah.
But then when he punches someone and then he's like that, I was like, oh, there was no need for that, Stanley.
Yeah.
So those were the moments that kind of took away from the more seriousness of the film, and I actually could have, I think, had Jackie
Playing a more Bond
avoided.
style.
Yeah. I think if he had avoided those little comedic moments, like what he and Tong think the fans want and expect from him.
Maybe they
I think
should,
they would have. It would have become much more of a Bond-like movie.
Yeah, maybe they
Definitely.
should maybe stop thinking what the fans like and ask the fans.
Just just make the movie.
Yeah.
But yes, it was fun to see. There was obviously Zhu Tang, who was on the hover jet.
That was...
I mean, he is
the-
bloody gorgeous.
I mean, he
so he
is
is.
like-
But he flies in on those jet boots as such, or that jet hoverboard, shooting up the place, and Jackie calls him the Condor, which I thought
Yeah.
was a nice nod to
Yeah.
Operation Condor. You had
I'd let him fly into my room on that
he was
hoverboard and shit
and we'll stop there.
all over.
And then you had the travelling scenes, the montages like in Operation Condor. You
Yeah.
had the Police Story nod where they
crash through the
down the
buildings,
shanty.
yeah.
Well, in Police Story they do it down through the shanty town.
Yes.
Here they're doing it through some pretty expensive looking and historic
Yeah, and
places.
CGI'd.
And it's CGI, but I think because it was such historic walls and everything, they wouldn't have gotten away with
Never,
it.
but they can...
Yes, they can manipulate it somewhere else, but you know, the thing is, Bruce Law was brought in, and I'm a big fan of Bruce Law. Bruce Law has been working in the business for decades in Hong Kong. He's created some amazing car chases and car stunts, and he's usually involved in most major productions, vehicle work. And he was brought in as the action choreographer for the car work, for the vehicle work here. So there has to be some part of that what we did see was very real.
Of course it was. We seen that it was real.
So,
it was
you
real.
know, yes, the CGI moments threw us, as we talked about, but it still added a wee bit of excitement. And you know what? They
And it
were
was still
over
watchable.
before we knew it.
Yeah.
They were over.
They were ghastly, but I mean...
But not
It wasn't
not
unwatchable.
unwatchable. Yes, ghastly maybe too strong a word. It wasn't unwatchable. I think if you say ghastly, it scares people off. Yeah, but unwatchable, it was not. But the wee nods and the Police Story, the kind of the mall as well, and then the first strike when the shark tank comes up. You kind of think they're going to go into that first strike moment where they fight underwater and
wanted that.
to explode.
I wanted them to start shooting that. The water to gush
They
out
would
the
have
shopping mall to
needed
flood.
another 100 million to do that.
Do you know what? I would have, if I had had the 100 million, I'd have said take it and flood the shit out of this place, get the sharks in, get bullets flying
But
in.
I think ultimately, together as a team, Tong and Chan, they'd already done that in First Strike. They already had the underwater shark moments where Jackie gets to kick a shark in the nose. And
Yeah, no, but he didn't flood a supermarket.
no, but they still had that moment, and I think that's where the little nods, while still wanting to offer
Am I too
something,
ambitious?
possibly, but I think while still
That's what I
wanting,
want for my movie.
still wanting to offer something new with Vanguard,
Yeah.
they just wanted to sprinkle little bits of what they had done together in a sense throughout it. In terms of the action scenes, I mean, this starts off in London, where it's a smaller action piece where they're kind of going in to rescue the kidnapped Jackson Lowe and his wife. Now Jackson, again, going back to First Strike, I haven't seen Jackson on screen or with Jackie Chan since First Strike in 1996, so that's how long it's been before he's come back, and it was nice to see him. It was a regular face in a sense. that we hadn't seen in such a long time. So yeah, I was happy to see him. He gets kidnapped, and Yang Yang and Alan come in to save him, and that is a fun little action moment. You know, where they.
It's a real good combat.
It is. There's some really, really.
It's bone crunching.
It is.
I mean, the
There's a
fights
violence
are
to
not
it.
like
Not
tame.
yeah, but they're not that kind of Wheels and Meals, My Lucky Stars kind of Jackie Chan style where
like comedy style.
yeah,
Yeah, like
where
slapsticky
it is-
fights.
Yeah. This is pretty much violent.
I mean, you
hard.
hear bones break.
It's kind of like Marvel would offer in
Yeah.
that sense. It really
Yeah.
is, yeah. Great action scene, and then from there they go to Africa, where they try to rescue his daughter before, not rescue, but get his daughter
away before she can be kidnapped.
Yes, and then of course the bad guys are hot their heels, and this is where the lion and the hyenas come in, and it's a nice
I have
wee
to say
moment.
that CGI was ghastly.
But yes, it is. It was uncalled for. They
It
could have
was. They
found her
didn't
doing
need that.
something else. I mean, that again, where the lion chases Jackie, for me was a wee nod to Who Am I? Where a real lion chases Jackie up a tree. And it was funny, but you know, thankfully it was interrupted by some great action
Yeah.
when the bad guys came along. There was a big shoot up. There was some that stunt where Jackie Chan enters the car as it's on the go. Whether it was done on green screen or not, it's still an impressive move to see a 66-year-old man.
The two of us were like, whoa!
Yes, I know, right? Very nice, a very nice throwback to the Jackie who took the world by storm. So from there, then they're hitting the water. There's the rapids fight scene on the boats.
Again, another excellent action scene that clearly a lot of it was done for real.
For real? Oh, yeah.
But then the adding in of the CGI splash
Yes,
and all of that let it down a little bit. Not much, but just a little tiny bit. It was like, nah, we didn't need
I know. It kind of threw you in a sense. And again, we talked about, before I go back to what I loved about these action scenes, the movie is fucking gorgeous. Like, it is shot beautifully.
It is so crisp.
And this...
We just watched it on normal Blu-ray and it was like...
It was like 4K.
It was,
wasn't
it really was. It was unbelievable.
Absolutely stunning. Some gorgeous cinematography throughout it.
Beautiful production design.
Really bold and beautiful colours. It is one of the most colourful films I think I've ever seen. And that even shows in the water, and you know, even with all that in the CGI, it still shows to be such a beautiful movie. But that scene in itself was a nod to Armored God 2 Operation Condor, where her jeep turns into a boat, kind of like Jackie had in when he was fishing in the volcano, the old volcano in Operation Condor. So there was this lovely wee nods throughout. Great action scene on the boats, and that results in the daughter of Jackson and Yang Yang getting captured and taken away, and there becomes the sort of the first major rescue mission. The leader of the bad guys wants something from Jackson in trade for his daughter and Yang
Wants
Yang.
200 million to be precise.
200 million. That's not much, but it all goes back to a deal his father and Jackson had, and there was a bit of double crossing, and you know, so there is that legitimate storyline of
there's an actual
there's
plot.
something going on there.
Yeah.
Of course there is.
But it's all very scant.
Yeah, but it's that 80s type, it's that 80s style of action movie where, you know, it could...
You only really need to know that someone was double-crossed.
Yeah.
That's all we need to know.
And while we have moved on today and have modern advances and everything else, blah, 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 and it could be sorted over a much easier, probably a cup of coffee, it's just fun.
Not
to
in my
see.
World, George.
No.
Not in my world.
I don't drink coffee. But, so yeah, then that leads to...
I get my AK out and start firing.
It leads
Jumping
to,
over the fence out there.
Oh, I know, we've witnessed that.
Scars to prove
We then get introduced to this incredible action scene. All
the gunfight.
Majority of it done by guns. Yeah. There's a few moves here and there which are lovely, absolutely stunning. But everyone gets a gun.
The enemy has more men.
What was the next rescue mission? I've forgotten.
Well, the next one then they had to go to get Jackson, to rescue Jackson, which then leads to
The golden cars.
the golden cars, and then the last scene.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
But there's so much. There is just so much going on in it. Like it's constant.
It's the kind of film that I'd want to be involved in.
It is spy action. This for me is James Bond, Mission Impossible action film that with a hint of comedy. There's not a lot of comedy, I have to say, but there's a hint of comedy.
Rush Hour meets James Bond. Will we go with that? The kind of Rush Hour comedy meets James Bond.
I would go with more Rush Hour meets Mission Impossible. I think they were definitely more of a team of Mission Impossible guys. I think they were definitely more of a team like that.
Right, rather than riding solo.
Yeah. But look, I mean, I really, really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I just can't find the hate for it, and I know, as I said earlier there, and over the years, a lot of people have constantly more criticised Jackie's films because they aren't seeing him as the pensioner that he is, but also there's been a lot of crap with his political views and in China, and I think people are taking personal agendas on board.
Yeah,
and
that needs to be left out of entertainment.
Of course it does. And it's one of the reasons that
people could still hate
Captain Marvel was attacked because of something Brie had said off camera, and that was her own thing. That's her own statement. That is not the movie.
It would be like still hating Jane Fonda today for Hanoi.
Right. So
I mean, she had a view. She
That's
was
what I
allowed to
mean,
express that view as a
yes.
human being.
So people change, people grow. He's still my hero, but I don't take into account what his personal views and in terms of political sense are. I don't care about that. He is
Whenever I like an actor, I like an actor.
Yeah. So I think people do
And I
need
like
to
their
step
work
back
if
from
it's
that
good.
and leave it out.
Yeah. Totally agree with you 100%.
Okay.
Unless Jackie murders someone, then
that's
it kind
different.
of becomes an issue.
That's different.
or he fantasizes about cutting out the hearts of people and eating them, then it becomes an issue.
Imagine.
Army Hammer.
Yes.
But
we have seen again, as I said to you while watching the end credits, you could see that he's giving out bottles of water to people. He's feeding people. He's pushing cars out of the set. He's cleaning up. This is the Jackie I've witnessed my whole life while watching Jackie Chan movies or behind the scenes or interviews, and that's who inspired me to be what I am on my movies and get involved in so many ways. He is a genuinely nice guy. I just hope I get to meet him before he pops his clogs. But Vanguard, I loved it. Again, not the greatest thing from anyone involved, but still hugely enjoyable. I think the more you watch it, I know when you watch a movie the first time, it takes that running time. It almost takes that length of time. When you watch it again, it speeds up. It gets quicker. And for me, the third time, this became just a snappy Jackie Chan movie that was a lot of fun. So, what would you
give it?
I would quite comfortably give it 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
I think a part of me, as a huge fan, wants to go a wee bit higher because of the action involved, but the technical aspect and the letdowns from Stanley Tong as a director have nudged it down a wee bit there.
Yeah.
But yes, I think I'm going to go with 3.5 because it did entertain me, and it still entertained me after 3 viewings in 1 week. What would you give it?
I would give it 2.5.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Middle of the road.
Not that it was bad.
No.
'Cause it
2.5
wasn't
is
by any stretch of the imagination. It was not a bad film. I could definitely watch it again. There was just some things in it that I just didn't really like.
Yeah.
And I thought let the film down as
Massively.
a whole. But in terms, if you want to see big action sequences, then.
But that's the thing.
You can
I
see
can overlook those minor mistakes in a sense. Not minor, but I can overlook those smaller mistakes for what it offers legitimately on an entertaining level, and the work involved. This is what I always look into things, is the work involved.
I can't overlook them because I don't think there's any excuse for it.
No, there's not. There's definitely not. But
while
I still
I
think
respect there's a lot of work that goes into it, I still think that they shouldn't. Sometimes I think with films like this, they treat the audience like they're stupid.
Yes,
and
of
it's
course
like,
they do.
don't do that.
Of course they do.
because you know, we clearly can see that you're driving around in $150 million cars.
It's impressive.
Just crash the fucking shit out of them. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see your stupid PlayStation 2 graphics. You know,
it's
that
unfortunate.
it is, and
unfortunate.
it lets me down because I feel then a little bit not offended as a film fan, but I'm like,
no, I
I've seen
understand
action
what you're
sequences
saying.
where people
Yeah.
where they've literally dropped, like I've seen independent horrors where they've dropped flaming helicopters through the roofs of cinemas.
Yeah.
Lamberto Bava
Yeah.
in Demons. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, and you know how I feel about practical effects.
Oh yeah. Without
I
a doubt.
am like the
But that's why
practical effects.
when I wanted to show you the making of features,
Yeah.
we could see what was real.
Yeah.
And how little theoretically they manipulated it with CGI that ruined it.
Yeah, but it's
You
the
know?
CGI that did ruin it.
Yes.
They could have manipulated it with CGI a la Fast and the Furious and not even noticed that it's been manipulated. This was noticeably
But
manipulated.
again, this is something that people will continuously say, and they do say in their reviews. That was Jackie's fault. This is it's not Jackie. Jackie doesn't do the CGI. He doesn't work the CGI. You know, so get over it. It's not
Jackie
Jackie's
is
fault.
an actor and an executive producer. He's not sitting in the editing suite, I doubt.
No, he's on the next
Doing
project already.
all
He's
of
out
the
there.
digital effects.
He's already out there making his next
Yeah.
movie. That's how much he keeps going.
And it's really nobody's fault in retrospect. The only person that it really needs to fall down on is the director, because they're the one that oversees the entire production, and that's who it needs to fall back on.
Yeah.
They're the one that has been tasked with bringing this film to life, with making it as good as it can be. And if it doesn't live up to it, it falls back on Stanley, because that's what he's been.
But
You
I've
know,
long
he's the
I've long
director.
said he is not the greatest director in the world. He is definitely.
I think I would be the Stanley Tong of Northern Ireland, because I think I'm too ambitious for what I think I could possibly, you know, I would like me saying I wanted them to shit that tank and flood the
Yeah.
That's what I want to do in a film. And I think someone would turn to me and be like, well,
can't
that's
do
not
that."
happening. And I'd be like, no, I
Yes.
want it.
Give me a bucket of water.
Yeah,
Make
and
it happen.
yes, exactly. So I would be the Stanley Tong of Northern Ireland. And I'm quite happy with that, as long as I'm not the Uwe Boll of Northern Ireland.
No.
I'm quite happy with it. But, you know, yeah, he's got grand ambitions. Maybe it's time for Stanley to bring it back
Yes,
to a bit more of a realism.
This is what I would have liked to have talked about, funny enough, and I think I did mention it in the
we're talking about
commentary
it,
for
yeah.
Iron Angels 2. Go and check it out. I did say I think I would like Stanley to go back to where he started.
Yeah.
To take things back to the Iron Angels, the Stone Age Warriors.
Which were the Iron
Yes.
Angels movies are so good.
And even Rumble in the Bronx. I mean,
Rumble in the Bronx was a great film.
Exactly. But as Stanley got into Hollywood. He brought Samo, obviously, to America with martial law.
Oh my god, he was behind Martial Law, the TV series?
Yeah, and then Hollywood producers and executives then gave him Mr. Magoo with Leslie Nielsen as his first Hollywood movie. Now that for me is a massive insult.
That's hugely insulting.
Exactly. But
Why
that was at
Stanley
a
to do
time when
that?
I thought Hollywood executives were quite keen to knock these big Hong Kong directors down a peg or two by giving them crappy projects. They did it with quite a few
Yeah.
Hong Kong directors. But anyway,
Kind of backfired in like the cult fandom of
Yeah,
some, like with
yeah,
John
yeah.
Woo. People were like, yeah, his American films are still really good. You know,
But-
Face Off, Mission Impossible 2, they were good films.
they were good films at that time.
They're still good films.
They kind of, but then his career died then after that. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's for another talk altogether.
Yeah, it is.
But look, Vanguard is still a very entertaining film.
Yeah.
Get over the little mistakes. They're noticeable. They're there, but it's done.
Watch it for a good time.
I think there's enough amazing action sequences here to override. Which
Do you
is
know
why
what I
I
say?
Why I
I
give it a bit
say
of score.
get your mates together, a few beers or a few Cokes, I'm Coca-Colas.
Yeah.
Get the DTS and the surround sound on, turn up the volume,
Blast
enjoy it
it.
for what it is.
This would have been nice to see in the cinema.
I would have.
I mean, really, we would have cried about the CGI, of course.
Yeah.
But for those 60 seconds that we saw it,
Yeah.
that was all. It was
Yeah.
literally brief moments of 60.
Yeah.
For the length of that movie, there's 3 minutes of it that we really despise with the CGI.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Wow.
4 minutes, okay. So, highly entertaining.
Yeah.
I think fans need to go back and rewatch it again.
Yeah.
And just kind of realize it's not a sequel to Kung Fu Yoga.
Don't be so serious.
It's not a martial arts comedy. It's an action film.
It's an action film. And just relax into it.
Yeah.
And you'll enjoy it.
You will.
So, I think that's it. I think
that
we've
is it.
exhausted that.
We've exhausted the battery.
We have. The battery's literally about to die, which is why I'm trying to wrap it up really quickly.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
so 3.5 from you, 2.5 from me. It's
Yes.
worth checking out if you're a fan of action movies.
I do honestly. I
is,
just want to reiterate why I give it a bit of a higher score is because I can see that the good is overriding the bad. I think people focus, not just you, I'm talking about, but I mean people can focus too much on the bad stuff and let that put a full, instant score on their viewing of any movie.
Yeah.
But I think if you need to remember what was great about it.
Yeah,
And
and,
that's
I
what
do
I do.
remember what's great about it.
Good.
It still doesn't affect my score.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for watching, and join us again for another movie review and trailer reactions and all the other jazz that we do.
And subscribe. We never say subscribe anymore.
We don't subscribe! Our subscribers are going up!
Which is nice.
We're
Very
so
slow, but they're-
excited!
Anyway.
Soon we're gonna be on TV!
If you're watching this on TV.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about
I know
that.
I watch it on RTV all the time.
I watch it on my phone, so technically I'm like
so you
I'm a YouTube.
When you should watch it on our television.
I'm gonna watch it on
And then
TV.
you can watch us in 4K.
Oh god, no, with my chins? Definitely not. I might
That's why
watch
we
it.
laugh though, it's so funny. No,
Yeah, that's why you can laugh. Thank you so much for watching. Join us again next time for Celluloid Misfits presents whatever's next.
Yay! Goodbye.
I don't know why I did.